Will these summer movies flop or succeed at the box office? Starting off in May, we of course have The Mandalorian and Grogu, the first return to theaters for the Star Wars franchise since 2019, and this is one of the most difficult movies on the list to predict. Since this movie's only a month away and tickets are already on sale, we already have some early projections that say this movie's about to make $70 to $85 million domestically in its opening weekend, which would be the lowest ever for a Star Wars Disney film, which yes would be an even lower opening than Solo, which is kind of the movie that ruined the Star Wars franchise if you think about it. Not because it's a bad film, but just because this underperforming with such an expensive budget made them pretty much make all their movies just into TV shows now. Now, The Mandalorian and Grogu does have some different circumstances. This movie reportedly only cost $150 million, meaning to break even, it would need to make around $300 million worldwide, and it obviously is attached to a very popular TV show. And even though I don't think the trailers look very good or interesting at all, I can't imagine this movie not making at least like $500 million and succeeding, just not being a smash hit. Next up is Mortal Kombat 2. Is anybody aware that this movie releases in 2 weeks at the beginning of May? Because I have not seen a peep of advertising or talk about this film. Now, the last Mortal Kombat movie we got in 2021 made $84 million, and its budget was reportedly $65 million. And if you don't know, to break even, movies need to make at least 2.5 times their budget normally. So this was a massive flop, but you have to keep in mind during 2021, the state of the world, this did release on HBO Max at the same time. However, some films still made a ton of money releasing on HBO Max and theaters at the same time, like Dune Part 1. But if we assume the budget's around the same, like $60 to $70 million, I honestly cannot see this movie succeeding whatsoever. Maybe it's just my local theaters, but I go to the movies a lot, and I have not seen a single trailer for this movie this year. This movie was also originally supposed to release in October of last year. It got delayed all the way till May now. It's releasing in between The Devil Wears Prada 2 and Mandalorian and Grogu. I think this thing is going to be a massive flop. And by the way, I'm not including The Devil Wears Prada 2 because it's coming out this weekend. I don't want the video to be dated immediately, but I'm just going to say huge success because it already looks like it's going to do insane. Moving on to June, we're getting a new Masters of the Universe movie. This is really a franchise that I don't know if it's going to hit with modern audiences. There will definitely be a crowd that go and see this movie. I don't think the trailer looks too bad or anything, but this is based on a very old set of toys. But the real kiss of death for this movie is that the budget is reportedly around $200 million, meaning it would have to make at least $400 million to start breaking even, probably more than that. I really can't see this movie making anywhere more than like $250 to $300 million. I'm putting it in the flop category because there's just no reason to spend that amount of money on a franchise like this. I'm sorry. We're getting a new Steven Spielberg UFO movie called Disclosure Day, or at least it's based on aliens. The trailer for this actually does look very good, and I think the biggest benefit to this movie is that it has a core mystery that has people intrigued to go and see it. The trailers also show a lot of action. People like action movies, and I think the Spielberg name, it still holds that weight. I don't think this is going to be like a crazy, super successful billion-dollar film, but I could definitely see this being a sleeper hit, especially because if you've been paying attention to this video, the movies we have coming out, there's not really like a great adult drama movie coming out in the same time period. A lot of these other things are like huge action blockbusters based on very old franchises. I think this is going to be one of the most successful original films of the year. I'm trusting in Spielberg for this one. You have to take into account that people just absolutely love some aliens. I think this is going to be a pretty big success this year. We're getting a new Scary Movie 6 this year. This is the first return to theaters for this franchise in 13 years, with the last one, Scary Movie 5. If you don't know, this franchise is just utterly ridiculous horror, like comedy parody. Now, the Scary Movie franchise has been very reliable at the box office. All the budgets are very, very cheap in like the $20-30 million range. Scary Movie 3 made $220 million. Scary Movie 4 made $170 million. And the last one, Scary Movie 5, did only make $78 million, but this was still profitable. Again, the budget was around like $20 million for this. And I think with a sense of nostalgia, the first one of these movies in 13 years, and it just being a horror film comedy, people are going to go and see it, even if they're not familiar with the franchise, I feel like. Again, nothing crazy, not a billion-dollar film, but it could easily make like $150 million, and with a cheap budget, that is a pretty big success. Also in June, we are going to be getting Toy Story 5, a movie I know a lot of people think is completely unnecessary. This franchise has already had a perfect ending with the end of Toy Story 3. Then we had another good ending at the end of Toy Story 4, but of course, where there's money to be made, we're going to keep getting new sequels. And honestly, I think Toy Story 5 looks really good from the trailer. I like this whole story of exploring like the toys versus technology, but also kind of seeing like, oh, how how can technology actually be good in a way, just not take over kids' lives. Not only is this movie going to be super successful, as you can see, Toy Story 3 and 4 made over $1 billion. I think this could end up being the highest grossing Toy Story film of all time. All it has to do is be like another absolute banger like Toy Story 3, and I think it can easily achieve that, because honestly, if it's a good movie, it's going to have all types of people, adults with a nostalgia for this franchise going. It's already going to have all the kids and families going to see this. It's almost guaranteed $1 billion, but guaranteed to be a massive success. And yes, I do kind of think this should be the true end of the Toy Story franchise, but if it is as successful as I'm thinking, I think there's no chance that happens, and we're probably going to be getting a Toy Story 6, maybe with some new characters, or we'll leave some of these guys behind though. Next up, we have Supergirl, which is another very difficult one to predict, so make sure to let me know your predictions for all these films, but especially Supergirl, in the comments below, because obviously we did have Superman last year that made $618 million at the box office. We know it was very profitable. It's a huge hit on HBO Max. It's getting great reviews from critics and audiences. Everybody loved Superman last year, but it was not some like huge billion-dollar start to this new DC universe. I don't see any universe where Supergirl makes the same amount of money as Superman even, which would be around $600 million. I think it's guaranteed to make less money than that. Assuming the budget's somewhere in that $1 to $200 million range, this is probably going to have to make at least $400 million to start breaking even. And we are not in 2019 anymore. Superhero movies are not guaranteed to make like $500 million minimum. Thunderbolts last year had incredible reviews and word of mouth, and that only made $382 million. I could see a similar fate happening for Supergirl this year, again, especially because it's releasing right after Toy Story and a lot of other loaded July films we'll get to in a second. And even though I think the movie's gonna be good, I don't think the trailers have done an amazing job at making this story that captivating or giving people a reason to go and see this. So sadly, I'm gonna say it flops. I hope I'm proven wrong, but if I have to make an educated guess, I'm saying flops. Now, what makes Supergirl flopping even sadder is the next film coming out in July, which is Moana, the live-action remake. I think this is going to steal a lot of Supergirl's audience, honestly, even though it's a couple weeks afterwards. I mean, this is completely pointless. It looks way worse than the original animated film, but Moana is absolutely massive. Moana 2 made $1 billion. The first Moana has been like the most streamed film on Disney Plus for each of the last 10 years. The Rock looks absolutely ridiculous in this movie, but you're going to get Dwayne on these press tours. This thing is easily making a ton of money. Sadly, I can see it making over $700 to $800 million pretty easily. Honestly, if we think Lilo and Stitch made $1 billion, this can easily do the same. I'm gonna sadly say it succeeds. Next up is Christopher Nolan's The Odyssey. This is one of my most anticipated films of the entire year, probably my most anticipated of the summer, and I think Christopher Nolan's going to deliver another masterpiece. His name alone serves as the franchise now. Like, he is one of the rare directors nowadays that can sell tickets just because of his name. But even if that isn't enough for you, this movie has like every single A-lister in the entire world in the cast. It's based on obviously one of the most famous stories of all time. I think this is a guaranteed success. The question is, can it make $1 billion? And honestly, I think it has a very fair chance. I know Oppenheimer was helped by Barbenheimer a lot, but even that being an R-rated drama biopic made almost $1 billion. I think this has a very fair chance to make it as well. But we don't need to spend a lot of time on Spider-Man Brand New Day, because obviously this is going to be a huge success. The question is just how high. I think $1 billion's almost guaranteed. Even Spider-Man Far From Home made $1 billion. No Way Home almost made $2 billion. I know that was a special event with Tobey and Andrew returning, but now the Spider-Man Brand New Day trailer is the most viewed trailer of all time. I think this movie has a very fair chance at making at least $1.5 billion. It also is the last Marvel movie we're getting before Avengers Doomsday. Guaranteed super success. We got a few more to get to, but first drop a like on this video and subscribe if you haven't already. Switching up to some more horror, we know these movies are an absolute cheat code. We have Evil Dead Burn coming out also in July. Now, Evil Dead Rise reportedly had a budget of $15 million and made $147 million. Again, as long as they can keep the budget in check, as always with horror films, this is pretty much guaranteed to turn a profit and be a success. Horror movies are really just a cheat code in Hollywood. We're finally getting Coyote versus Acme. The internet had to put on protest to save this movie from being just shelved by Warner Brothers. They wanted to never release it and just write it off for tax purposes. Now it's finally getting a theatrical release this year in August. I hope with all my heart this movie succeeds. The trailer looks like a lot of fun, and I'm putting it in the succeeds category just to manifest it. But if I'm being honest with you guys, don't attack me. I think the reality is the internet bubble that wanted this movie saved. I'm glad it did get saved. I don't think this is going to be a success at the box office at all. The last Looney Tunes movie, The Day the Earth Blew Up, was amazing, and nobody went and saw this. Hopefully the internet proves me wrong, and this is just a massive success though. If you want to see my way too early 2027 box office predictions for what movies will flop or succeed, click the video above my head right now, and thank you for watching.